Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to our early comics review show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after we bag and board the new comics, we divide them up and we read them, and we do this little show. We call it our spoiler light show. So, what we're going to do is we're going to tell you all the major reasons you might want these for collectability as far as first appearances, major deaths, things of that sort. But more than that, we're going to tell you what the comics are about. So if you're a reader, you can head to your store, whatever day you head in, and you won't be overwhelmed by the 30 some new choices on the wall every single week. I think today we're going to go over about 25 comics, their variants, and their incentives. So a pretty middle of the road week is what I would say.
Yeah, but some number ones this week and some pretty big stuff.
A few noteworthy ones
Yeah.
for sure. So you see the first batch we're going to start with. We have many off to the side. So without further ado, let's jump in.
With, I guess it's Predator week. We just had the
Yes.
release of Prey, and now we have Predator number one. They timed that very well. You got Predator on the brain. This is we were talking about it earlier. This is the first Predator comic done by Marvel. Marvel did have the license for Alien, but they've never done Predator before. So this is really cool to see. Um, I don't want to say that like previous ones didn't have like top tier talent, but this is, Marvel going in and putting all of their resources behind this property, and it's very cool to see. So this is written by Ed Brisson, who has worked on many things at Marvel, and the art is by Kev Walker. I know Kev Walker the most from Dr. Aphra. Was one of the main artists on Dr. Aphra for a long time. So even the main character gave me a little Aphra vibes. So what happens in this? It opens up and it shows you a scene from 2056, and it is a great way to open a Predator comic because it is a Predator fighting a Predator. No dialogue, just kind of a Predator slugfest for a couple of pages with a surprise ending. I won't give that away, but you turn the page, and of course, two-page spread that says Predator, everything. But what I thought was fun about it is kind of the previously on little section. It actually breaks down each of the Predator movies. So it starts in 1987, and it talks about, a Marine in the jungle encounters a Predator and has to survive. Then it goes on to tell, like, 10 years later, there's a Predator in the city, and it goes through all of the in-canon Predator movies up through Predators from a few years ago. And this is the way they're setting up is this is an official story in that timeline. It's like this, and now this one. So I think that's really cool. They're really building this to be an official Predator story. So it actually jumps back to 2041 on the planet Damara, and there is a girl named Theta with her parents, and apparently they're like researchers or something. And she's out of their ship, and she is cataloging animals. She's found like this weird frog with a tail, and she's making up names for them. You can tell she's very precocious and outgoing. But her parents warn her, we haven't fully checked out this planet yet. You need to stay in the ship and basically have the ship's AI babysit you. Of course, she doesn't want to do this, but it all is going fine until something starts attacking the family. It's not a spoiler because it's in these solicitations that something kills her family, because this is a flashback, and she is, we don't see it, but it seems to be a predator. They don't have a name and they don't know names. She just kind of refers to it. But we jump forward in time, and now we have Theta, who is basically trying to get revenge against the predator that killed her family. And they have a fun way of exploring how is she even going to manage to do this in the universe. Basically, every predator she finds in their ship, they have like a map that shows their hunting grounds. And so she sees where they're moving to next. But the problem is, if she activates it, they can see her as well. So this is a constant confrontation between Theta and the predators. So it sets up a kind of the ultimate antagonist for her, the one that killed her family. They have special markings so you know which one is them. as she kind of hunts and goes through predator after predator looking for this one. It sets up a lot of really cool sounding stuff coming up in the future with some of the planets she's going to go to, and the next issue that she's going to have to not only fight the predators, but also endure the environments. She has a really cool suit in this that I won't give away, but I thought this was a great first issue for this new Predator run. Very excited to see where it goes moving forward. I believe this first story arc, it said, is a 6-issue story arc. So, sounds really cool. I'm excited.
So interesting. They set it in the future.
Yes. So, this is our A cover. It's interesting, too, how they kind of play her as almost her own version of a Predator. Like, in her ship, she has the masks of all the Predators she's killed. It's very similar to the Predator's trophy room with all of the skulls. So it's kind of like she's almost become one because of her vendetta she has. We have the Peach Momoko variant. We have the Raza variant. Very cool. I don't even know how you go about doing this art to make it look night vision-y. We have the David Finch. This was the original teaser image when Marvel got the license for Predator. They released a long time ago with Predator on Avengers Tower holding Iron Man's head. Then we have the In-Hyuk Lee variant. We have the Ron Lim variant. It's a number 1, so there's a lot of them. We have the adorable Scotty Young variant. I can't wait to see this one as like a little statue or something. They've got to make that. Then we have some incentives. This is the 1 in 25 brown variant. We're selling to our customers for $25. And we have the 1 in 50 Philip Tan variant that we are selling to our customers for $50.
I've always thought how amazing it is that not one but two future governors came out of that first Predators movie. Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura both went on to be governors. So watch out for our political system.
Hit them up against. If they can survive a Predator, then maybe they can go to office.
We're sending our congressmen after you. Okay, so I read X-Men Legends #1. This was really good. I was very surprised how much I enjoyed this. This is written by legendary writer Roy Thomas, who is the co-creator of Wolverine. He's one of, 3 co-creators of Wolverine. And this is set between Hulk 181 and Giant Size X-Men. So it's more like, okay, you didn't get to see everything that happened. And it starts with a great round 2 fight between Wolverine and Hulk. So, at the end of Hulk 181, Hulk's going off to do his own thing. Well, Wolverine gets up and he's like, I'm not done. And the battle continues, and it's great because these two really try to hurt each other as they also discover how impenetrable the other one is, how tough Hulk's skin is, like why can't Wolverine scratch through it very easy, how Hulk can't just break Wolverine's claws off. They're trying, they really are, but they're both very tough. There's also some humor to it. It's really cool seeing the characters act the way they did back then. Hulk is sort of that dumb brute who has like comical, sort of darkly comical moments. Like Wolverine says the word adamantium, and Hulk tries to repeat it like 3 different ways, very incorrectly, like a child. So right away, really cool battle, and I just like seeing that interaction written by somebody who knows how to write them back then, who did write them, help create Wolverine, and was Marvel's editor-in-chief at the time. So that's not all that's in this, though. It isn't just, it's round 2 of battle. This follows Wolverine after that because he is part of the what's it called? Department H. So Department H, they're using him as Weapon X back then, and there's more to the story. Like they do finalize what happens with Hulk, which all that's great. They pair Wolverine up with Living Diamond, if you know that character. His
Wow.
entire body is made
Yeah.
of diamond, and they're sending them on another mission. And Wolverine, he is so much like his old self, where he is just hostile to everybody. He doesn't want to do the mission. He'd rather just fight you. He argues with everyone about everything, but in that colorful way that he does. So, of course, him and Living Diamond fight. You get to see that. And then a bunch of mutants show up as well, including some of Wolverine's future team from Giant Size X-Men, which it looks like there's going to be another battle. And it's interesting to see which ones are there. And there's also a bunch of evil mutants hanging out with some of the good mutants. It's not explained. It's definitely sort of a climactic ending, but this is going to continue. This is a book for any X-Men fan. If you like old X-Men stuff, this is for you. You're going to like it. You're going to be happy to have read it. I'm looking forward to issue number 2. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. So X-Men Legends number 1. Very cool book this week. We have 2 variants to show you. This is the Jurgens variant. And yeah, Wolverine, of course, he's wearing that old suit with the whiskers on it. Hulk actually kind of comments on that in his own guttural way. And then here's a Todd Nuck variant, headshot variant, which
I like that one.
I do. Yeah, that one really works. That definitely works.
Do we know how many issues this first story arc is going to be?
I don't, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty finite in the, this Legends is going to be doing a bunch of missing stories.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, typically they do it for graphic novel size. So
Yeah.
I would say 5 issues
Yeah.
is probably what it's going to be leading up to. Okay, well, here's how Wolverine ended up in Giant Size number 1.
Such a good sales pitch of like, what do you think happened like the second after that ended? Well, here you go. I think a lot of people are going to
I'm
be
really
picking that up.
glad they brought Roy Thomas on, and I'm surprised how sharp his writing still is.
Yeah.
The art is done by David Wachter, who is doing a very good modernization of their old costumes and everything. Like
That's cool.
The costumes are accurate, but it doesn't. He's not trying to make the art look like it's from the 70s or anything.
Okay, next up for me is our next entry into the Dark Crisis one-shots. This is the long title, Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Green Lantern, also featuring Hot Girl number 1. But that to say, this is following John Stewart of the Green Lanterns when he got supposedly killed in Justice League, and we get to see kind of what his idealized version of his story would be. So in John Stewart's, we begin with someone telling someone else. You can kind of tell it. Maybe it's a child that they're telling it to about John Stewart and how did he become the Guardian and all of this stuff. Come to find out, this is, I believe, John Stewart's mother telling this to John Stewart's sister, little sister. You'll have to read it. It's more complicated than that. It actually factors into the story. But John Stewart, he's just working out in a house. He's just building a fence because he is retired. In John Stewart's perfect world, he's just retired, which is great. But a distress call goes out from, I don't necessarily, I guess they're the Green Lantern Corps in this. But you can tell they're kind of evolved past that a little bit. Because there is a creature called, let's see, the Bright Revenant is attacking. It is coming for Earth because it seems like to protect the big power battery for the Green Lanterns, John Stewart has hidden it on Earth. Now this creature is coming to Earth, and he has to team up with his new group of lanterns and lantern-adjacent characters. And he also has kind of a new persona. I think he's just called the Guardian, but he's like an all-green version, very cool looking. And you just get to see how well he leads this team and how effective he is. And remember, this is a perfect world he's created. So it goes well for him, which is really cool to see. Really like that story. And then the backup story is Hot Girl. And it's a fun twist on kind of a classic story. So in this, Hawk Girl is kind of being an Indiana Jones type character as she is going towards the Temple of Life, a pyramid that's out in the jungle, because it is said in this Temple of Life is a elixir or something of mortality, not immortality, but mortality, because she's basically immortal because she'll always come back and reinvent herself or whatever, but she remembers all these lives and it's been really boring. Nothing's new. She can't learn anything new because she knows everything, and she is looking to turn mortal and be able to forget about her previous lives. So it's a fun twist on the seeking the fountain of youth story. That was another great one. Hot Girl has a new costume in it that's really cool. So I really like this one. It doesn't. In the previous issue of Dark Crisis, we saw Hal Jordan go to this universe or this version with Jon Stewart. He doesn't appear in this at all, so this is still a standalone story. But I think it was great. I think it's a great kind of what if story for Green Lantern. And then we have a really cool variant cover. You can see some of the designs on this. This is the 1 in 25 Fochio variant for $25. And at the top, we see Kyle Rayner, who is like the blind prophet lantern. And then we have Red Hood is a lantern. And finally, you have Jon Stewart at the bottom, and that's what he looks like as the Guardian. So we're selling that to our customers for $25.
All right, so I read Love Everlasting, which is the new independent comic by Tom King with art by Elsa Chartier. So this isn't as simple as you would think. This is not just a romance comic. This is a Tom King written comic, so you know he's gonna he likes playing with genres. Mm-hmm. He likes playing with your expectations. For me personally, Tom King is hit and miss. Some of his stuff I love, and some of his stuff I'm like, this is good, but it loses me here and there. Mm-hmm. This I liked, and I didn't know what to expect from it. In fact, honestly, if I had to guess, I didn't think I was going to like it. I don't sit around reading romance comics. Nothing wrong with it, but that's more like... Megan's the one who will read the romance comics at home. She'll read the classic ones, and I'm like, nah, I want some superheroes in this.
Yeah.
So, but this is neat because it is very unsettling. And why is it unsettling? Because this follows a woman named Joan as she goes through a series of stories in different time periods where she is in some sort of romance quandary. You know, in one, her best friend's, the guy she's with, she secretly is in love with him. You know, that's terrible. She doesn't want to hurt her friend, but at the same time, well, you know, that's not enough. Even though the dialogue is good and, you know, fairly compelling as far as romance stuff goes, what's really interesting is that it seems like whenever each story reaches sort of its climax, she is whisked to a new story and vaguely remembers the last one. In fact, throughout this, it seems like she's waking up to the fact that she may be trapped in an everlasting series of romance stories, which would be pretty terrible. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the way that Tom King writes it, it's just, you're able to sort of put yourself in that position and realize how scary that can be. And why is it? Of course, you're not going to get any answers in the first issue as to why. This is definitely Tom King just playing with the genre, playing with different genres. Who knows? Maybe this might turn sci-fi. This might turn superhero. I don't really know what this is going to turn exactly. But that's what's good about it. You know, that's what independent comics are supposed to do, is play with your expectations and keep you guessing, keep you interested, but guessing the rest of the time. Elsa Chartier's art in this is excellent. She is channeling those old romance comics. I've seen enough of them that Megan has read. But she, once again, has updated it, sort of like what I was talking about with XMen Legends, but in a whole different manner. You know, this is more updating of more golden age and silver age stuff. So, good issue of Love Everlasting. Is it for everyone? I would say no. Like, if you want superhero comics, stuff like that, you know, it's probably not your thing. But if you want something different, if you want a real thinker, if you want one where, you know, you're going to have to read... If you like Tom King stuff, so far this is seeming like one of the good Tom King things,
Mhm.
is how I would put it. So we've got several variants for this.
I remember looking through a preview of this, and isn't it almost like every time she gets put in a new story, it's almost like the beginning again? Like it
It
has like an
is.
intro and stuff.
It is a beginning again every single
That's
time.
cool.
You know, she deals with guys, you know, with names like George, Kit, Bill, Chad. You know, and it's different time
Yeah.
periods. You know, like one is in the Wild West, and you know, it keeps changing. So as to why, I'm not sure, but like I said, it has a good unsettling atmosphere underneath it all,
Hmm.
which it's cool that Tom King can spread that without having to like write it in.
Yeah.
All right, so we have our first variant here. This is the interior artist Chartier did a variant, so this is a Chartier variant. Then we've got, this is what, the Frizen
The
one.
Frizen.
Yep, this got to be the Jenny Frizen variant. Here is the Lotte variant.
Seeing a theme.
Then we have the Man variant.
I love that
MANN.
one.
That really is a good one.
I just want that comic. I want that Old West with Clayman doing the art.
There,
That's so cool.
You may get that. You know, it seems like there's going to be more situations. Here's the 1 in 10 hung variant that we are selling to our customers for $10. And lastly, here's the 1 in 25 Bergera variant that we are selling to our customers for $25.
I'm glad Tom King is also kind of bringing back a genre that hasn't been used in
I
a
just
long
think
time.
he likes challenges and challenging himself.
Yeah.
And his stuff's experimental. And as with experiments, sometimes, you know,
Mhm.
you craft straw into gold, and other times the straw stays straw.
Yeah.
So,
But you can definitely tell he loves comics. He loves the history of comics.
he's an ambitious writer,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate what he does for comics, and that he tries so many different things.
Yeah. Okay, next is, of course, one of the biggest books out right now, 8 Billion Genies. This is 8 Billion Genies number 4. And as was teased in the previous issue, we are entering into the Age of Heroes. So, this is, now it's time for all of the people who wished for superpowers to rise up. But what happens, you know, they meet up. They all have, I mean, there's one that's like pineapple themed. You can tell these people are like maybe not the best at wishing for whatever superpowers they had. They weren't
No pickle themed heroes.
no pickle themed, but definitely pineapple. But the real interesting part is there's people who wish to be heroes, but there was also people who wish to be supervillains, and those are crazy. Those are some very wild ones. I'll say one is, I can't remember what his name is. It's something Zoo, Living Zoo, but like he's got like the head of an elephant and the arm of a snake and the legs of goats, and he's like a like trees growing out of him. He's like a one person zoo. But so that's kind of one of the main things, and one of our characters you saw from the last one when the kids wished that they had superpowers, and apparently they were really good at making that wish because he seems better at being a superhero than a lot of them. Even the genies kind of comment on. Looks like he thought this through a little bit better than some of the other ones did. The way he worded his wish, but I would say the bigger part of this issue is we learn just about everything about the genies. Why are they there? What is their purpose? Why did they suddenly show up? And have they done this before? And I think the most interesting thing is who was the last genie? We'll find out who was the last genie. And it may surprise you. It's really cool. I was not expecting to get, even for the whole series, those kind of answers. You know, I thought it would be, they may hint at it, but keep it pretty vague. No, there's pretty definitive reasons why the genies are here and what their purpose is. Of course, there's just a lot more fun stuff in this. If you've been reading this, but you haven't really taken time to look at the art, Ryan Brown's art, you are missing some great stuff because in this issue, I noticed over the course of several panels, there's two genies who, because they're in a bar, start drinking, and it progressively get more and more sick and it's just going on in the background. It's really funny. So definitely big props to the art in this, the character designs for the superheroes, and the idea of, oh, you wish to be a superhero, why the genies also know that won't last either, because there's problems that come with that. And just to tease one more thing, the genies know that the wishes go in stages and phases, and they know what is inevitably coming next, and that will be what's in the next issue. But this is really building towards some really, really cool things, as this continues to be one of the best series coming out. So that is 8 Billion Genies number 4. We have the Christian Ward variant. I like the genie superhero. And then also, if you have missed some of the issues, we have second printings of issue 3 out this week, and should have done this in the other order, issue 2. So we just had reprints of issue 1 a few weeks ago, and now we have 2 and 3. So you can get caught up to issue 4 out this week.
Yep. Image said they wouldn't do any more reprinting a while back, but then 8 Billion Genies happened, and a record scratch sound immediately occurred, and they said, wait a minute, let's go ahead and do that so that people can read this awesome story and see the really cool art. I mean, back when those two were doing God Hates Astronauts, that was wild as well. And it's like, they were like, could we think of anything more wild than that? And they did.
It has the craziness of God Hates Astronauts with a little bit more structure.
Mm. Okay, so next up, I read Harley Quinn, issue number 19. This is the second part in the now weekly Harley Quinn arc that's going on called Task Force XX, where Harley is part of a team that has been put together by a certain benefactor. Since this is weekly, I won't, really spoil the last issue too much yet. But a certain benefactor is paying Harley and her team to go into space, to go to the moon, because there is this element X, which is a fourth world element that has become unstable, and he needs them to do something about it. Because this all goes on during Dark Crisis, and everybody else is busy. So it's Harley and all the other heroes and villains that could get rounded up who weren't a part of all that. A very interesting team that you could see how it's put together last issue. So at the end of the last issue, right as they shot off into space, a missile was launched to destroy them. In this issue, you get to find out who launched this missile and why, and you get to see how that resolves. The most I could tell you is that, and I kind of guessed this when I saw such a big team put together, not everybody survives this issue. This is definitely, it's almost like a whole different Suicide Squad in a way. But they're doing it for money. They don't have bombs in their head.
Yeah.
They have chosen to be here. But yes, right off the bat, one of the two members does not make it out of this issue. Past that, this is a lot of dangerous situations in space that everybody's upset and scared and yelling. Meanwhile, Harley's having a great time. She is laughing in the face of all this space danger, much to the chagrin of her teammates. The last thing I'll say is a certain series of events occur that make it where one of the teammates, Solomon Grundy, gets sick in space, and you get to see what happens when Solomon Grundy starts ralphing in space and how that affects other people and those around him.
Sounds delightful.
Yes. So another exciting, funny, interesting issue of Harley Quinn. We're out of the Derek Chew variant, but of course there's a Derek Chew variant. However, there is also this Ryan Sook homage variant. So of course they're doing this series of classic Batman covers that Harley is inserting herself into. This is back from Detective Comics 38, I believe, first appearance of Robin. So that's definitely a very cool one to look into. And then we also have this 1 in 25 by, it's an artist I haven't heard of, at least not a lot. His name is Jimbo Box variant that we're selling to our customers for $25.
Maybe another artist to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and one that is certainly really, really manga influence. I mean, that's as manga Harley as it gets.
Yeah. Okay, next up is a book that I didn't know really what to think about going into it. This is Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever, #1. This is just a one shot. And, sometimes with Marvel with one shots, sometimes they're really cool. Sometimes you go, okay, it's just a one shot, it's a standalone story. They'll sometimes release them near movies or whatever that are just kind of something that you can point people towards if they haven't been reading the series, um, that are either in or out of continuity, whatever. Let me say, if you're reading Ghost Rider, I highly recommend you pick this one up. And also, if you just like the character, I don't know, I just thought this was such a great issue. So, what is special about this? You can tell a little bit from the cover, because look at all those tattoos that are on Ghost Rider. That is not just a cool cover. That is what this issue is about. Because Johnny Blaze goes to a new character. It's a first appearance of Necro the Tattooist. And this is a really cool character. I would love to see this character just appear in random books. Because he even says he never appears the same place twice. But he just kind of pops up and he has this tattoo shop. And he is creepy. He is very pale, slender, no eyes. It's not even empty sockets. It's like the skin is grown over where his eyes would be. And let's just say Johnny Blaze does question, for someone who is like clearly a either demon or something tattooist. He doesn't have any tattoos, and the guy then explains, well, he doesn't have any on the outside. All his are on the inside, which is just as creepy as you can imagine. But what this Necro the Tattooist does is, when he explains the way he does tattoos, he's not putting the tattoo on you. He's pulling it out of you. So your tattoos are your history and the history of your ancestors and everything. Definitely a very supernatural tattooist, which I think is just a super cool concept. But what this does is, as he explains to Johnny Blaze, not only do you have like kind of your ancestors, a history in you as your kind of like layers and dirt, you also have the spirit of vengeance history in you. And so we get then little short stories, even, single page, 1 or 2 pages of a bunch of different Ghost Riders. We get hints of Ghost Riders that we've never seen before, that are either like pseudo Old West. There's one woman that has kind of a Old West dress, almost like a prairie dress or something, but with a flaming skull head. We get another one that's maybe not even human. You'll have to see that one. But our first actual story is, I believe, another first appearance with a man named Jimmy Underhill. And apparently he had an affair with the sheriff's wife, which he didn't know. But now the sheriff has it out for him and is about to hang him from a hanging tree, because this is Old West, when the tree grows a face and asks him how much does he want to get out of the situation. So a new Ghost Rider is born. And I looked it up. We don't actually know the original Old West Ghost Rider's name, but this doesn't appear to be the same one. I believe this is a new cowboy Ghost Rider. He has different weapons and everything. So that's really cool. But we also get stories of one of Danny Ketch, as he is looking for Johnny Blaze. These all take place, even tells you what time frame these take place during. So this one is Danny Ketch looking for Johnny Blaze. He goes into a pretty rough biker bar and tells them a ghost story, which is really cool. Then we get one that basically says it's from the era of Midnight Suns, where we have Vengeance, the Ghost Rider Vengeance, who we don't see too often. You have, of course, everybody on their motorcycles, Morbius and Blade. They're hunting Dracula. Really cool. Then we get a story with Robbie Rodriguez the
Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes.
Yes.
Yes, I get him and Blue Beetle confused. The Ghost Rider in the car. We get his story, and then finally we get a Ghost Rider 2099 story. So we covered the whole span of it, and there's even a cameo from Cosmic Ghost Rider. So this is a super cool kind of love letter to Ghost Rider, but also he leaves the shop with tattoos. And one of them is on his face. So I really want to see if they continue this. Do they fade over time? What happens?
They go back into your body.
Yeah. So this is a excellent one-shot issue. Ghost Rider, Vengeance Forever. Highly recommend you pick it up. We've got some variants for it. We have the Laraz variant. This one's really cool. This is an Adam Kubert and Joe Kubert variant. You even can see some of the blue lines still on there, just a sketch. Is his name Robbie Rodriguez? Jaime Reyes is Blue Beetle.
We're getting confused.
There's too many secret identities in my head.
When you read 25 comics,
yes,
in one sitting.
But great issue, great art. That's a highly recommended one with some first appearances.
That's a really cool character, that tattoo artist. Like,
yeah.
It would be great to see him appear. You know, it's like, hey, Punisher,
yeah.
I'm here to pull out all your tattoos, and here's
you
some
could
stories.
Do that with so many characters in
yeah.
one-shot stories, Daredevil, whatever.
Okay, so next up, I read Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty issue number 3. So there's a first appearance of a new villain. You see him on the cover. They don't really name this villain. I'm going to call him Redacted, but it seems like that's the group, or at least what he says every time he brings the group up. You know, he's like, you are being redacted to Captain America. So I'm calling the new villain Redacted. That's not officially his name.
Does he say Redacted, or is it a redacted line?
He says it.
Okay.
He basically threatens Captain America. He's like, you're being redacted. Yeah, so. But this new villain is interesting because he has sort of metal alloy across his body that is as strong as vibranium or adamantium. Like, Captain America fights him and definitely notes this is bad. This person is like has this metal which could be possibly even different than those two. But he has a chance to be able to get through his shield. So that's the first thing I want to say about Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty number 3. So in this, Captain America, he is trying to find out the history of his shield. He already found out in the first 2 issues that it may have some kind of sinister history. In this, he goes to a hidden base within a volcano. Now, you know, if there's a base in a volcano, it's probably nothing good there.
It's not good.
Where he gets attacked by this new villain that I'm calling Redacted, who is there for some shadow agency, which is the whole thing he's trying to find out about. There's apparently a message for him that if he can survive this battle, he gets to hear. And that's as far as I can tell you. But some important stuff is learned in this issue. Meanwhile, Bucky is having a meeting with Peggy Carter, who he suspects is sort of secretly a member of this organization. And they have a big disagreement that leads to a fight. And I have to say, Peggy Carter kind of whoops his butt. It's a really cool fight. You should see what Peggy Carter does to Bucky and what she has to say to him. That whole part was really good, actually. So that's generally what's going on in Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty issue number 3. And then as far as variants, we have the Bianchi variant.
It's very classic. Okay, next up is another new number 1. This is Dceased, War of the Undead Gods, number 1. So this is going to be, I believe, yes, 8 issues. And this is Tom Taylor's final story in the, at least for now, in the Dceased universe that's been going on now for years. Fantastic Elseworld type story, of course, with the anti-life equation from Darkseid creating the kind of zombies of this universe. And we've watched it from our original heroes all the way up to now the kids of the heroes are the heroes. So Damian is Batman, John Kent is Superman, and Cassie Sandsmark is Wonder Woman. And they are kind of putting up the final fight against the anti-life equation. In the previous story, they found out a way that they could reverse it in some people, even though they have lost a lot. And so they are... Jonathan is going to go on a mission to the center of the sun. That is where Superman is, his father, who is, of course, in the center of the sun. So he is super powerful and trying to fix him. Along with that, we get a new origin for Supergirl, which was pretty surprising. Starts off very much the same. Krypton's about to explode. Her parents put her in a pod, send them out, but she does not end up on Earth. And you'll have to read it to find out, but it's a very interesting twist on the Supergirl story. Also, let's see. I would say this is not a great jumping on point. This is definitely the final chapter in a big story. If you've read some of them, I think you'll be fine, but it doesn't really explain the whole situation and the zombies and all of that. But we do get a return of a very major character that should turn the tide of the story, but we also find out who is the real villains behind all of this. So a lot going on in the first issue of Deceased War of the Undead Gods. We also have a bunch of variants for this. So we've got, starting with the acetate cover. Yep, that's the cover we had to order earlier than the actual book, but it came out the same week. So very cool. Pull back the black around the bat symbol and reveal what is underneath. We have this, which I like to get every polybag thing because I am such a, I don't like when you keep information from me. And so I really want to know what this cover looks like. But this is the GCPD body bag coroner's variant. I'm guessing there's probably a zombie behind it. Then we have this really cool Dan Mora variant where we are homaging X-Men #1. But those characters, I think only one of those appears in this book, and I can't remember if we've seen this Shazam Batgirl before, or if she will be new for this. It's been a while since I read the previous one, but very cool Dan Mora cover. Then we have the, I believe this is the Anacleto variant, homaging the first appearance of Supergirl. And we have, this is the 1 in 25 Matina variant that we are selling to our customers for $25. Very creepy.
All right, so I read another really interesting indie comic called Samurai Doggies. This is from Aftershock. This is a double-size issue #1, set in a world that I could best describe as a cross between Blade Runner, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Lone Wolf and Cub. So if you can kind of picture that, because the people in the world are sort of anamorphic like TMNT world, but it's very Blade Runner atmosphere and oppressive future mixed in with just sort of Lone Wolf and Cub samurai manga style sensibilities. So what is this about? Basically, there is a little puppy whose mother is murdered and his 8 brothers are kidnapped away. And instead of him just dying, he is rescued by a robotic vulture who becomes his friend. And he grows up to be Samurai Doggy. So you get to see a little of his history. You get to understand what his quest is. He is looking for the individual who did this to his mother and kidnapped his brothers. All he has is a bracelet that was left behind and the person's scent. So you follow him into the world where you get to see what this world is like as he tries to find out who knows any information on this person. But of course, there's danger around every corner, reason for him to battle and show off his how he is a samurai. In this first issue, he ends up at an amusement park inside this big city, and that's where he runs into a lot of trouble. So what I can tell you is this is definitely a good example of an indie book where the team is doing what they feel like doing. It is the sort of book that I would say the story stays vague enough. Like, you've heard of this sort of thing before. You've heard of people on vengeance quests and all that. So the story stays vague enough to let the art breathe. The art is really the scene stealer of this first issue. The just if you think the cover looks good, I think the interiors are even better. So if you're sort of a fan of the things I've talked about and that sort of art style, I think you will like this. Whereas the story itself, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a vengeance quest, and he's going to run into trouble, and maybe he has to protect someone. I've seen these before, but, they're tropes because, that's what makes up a good story. So, right now we're being introduced to the world. So really, the art is the draw to this one, I would say. And so we have just this 1 in 15 Wando variant for $25 we're selling to our customers.
Okay, next up for me, we have Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 14. And what is special about this issue? In this issue, Superman, Jonathan Kent, is pulled together with a team that you've seen before, but it's been a while. But people familiar to Tom Taylor will know it, to take on the land. I'm not sure if it's an island or whatever of Gamora, but it's been kind of the main story so far in this, and topple their dictatorship. And along with that, Jonathan knows that Jay kind of needs his identity's been revealed with his previous mask taken off. He needs a new identity, and Superman knows just the place to get it at the Fortress of Solitude. So, a very cool costume is given to Jay, and along with it, he has a new power. When you see it, you'll understand how and why, but Jay definitely gets a upgrade in the power set, and you see later on how it is used in a very cool way. And then there's potentially a new villain at the end. May only be for like an issue or something, but nothing super big. But I thought overall it was a really good issue, and I like Jay's new status in this. Plus, one of the new teammates that joins this group is really fun, and I'm glad to see join this book. So that was my vague take on Superman Son of Kal-El number 14, because I think a lot of it is really fun to experience for yourself when certain characters come out of the shadows. We also have this. This is the Sarmento variant, which is really fun. And we have this 1 in 25 Mercer variant that we're selling to our customers for $25.
All right, so I read Batman Urban Legends issue 18. So this is starting up a bunch of new stories. Urban Legends is sort of an anthology style thing where they tell various stories, some of which continue and some are one-shots. This issue started all new stuff, so I was like, I'm going to grab that, see what it's about. So the first story is Duke Thomas as the Signal, as Batman and different members of the Outsiders are training him, helping him get better, but also trying to stop him from burning out. He is pushing himself really hard. What I will say is this ends with sort of a hint that there's going to be a new Outsiders comic starting sometime. It's probably going to be The Signal and the Outsiders. So look for that in the coming months. The second story is a Batman and Etrigan the Demon one-shot. It's just a nice little one and done with them. The third story is a Alfred Pennyworth story, which is really cool. Seeing Alfred do things. So this is set where it's not him young. You know, I guess that's what people would expect. Instead, he's Batman's butler, all that. But Batman's busy. Like Alfred stumbles upon his own mystery, his own deadly mystery, and Batman's too busy to do anything. So Alfred's going to take care of business himself. I really like that one a lot. I like Alfred as a character though, and it's really cool just to see how smart he is. And you know, he's the guy. He's going to beat you, but he's going to keep his manners impeccable the whole time of doing it. The fourth story is a Batman and Tim Drake story, really early on, in having Tim Drake as Robin as they go into Arkham to go up against Dr. Destiny, which is interesting because, you know, the whole Sandman series just started. But anyhow, that's just a one shot. And lastly, the fifth story is called Belle and Beau, and it's about these two service workers who they get treated poorly in the service industry at Gotham, go figure. And so they start robbing criminals, including one named Marvin Falcone, who is, I think, like a nephew or something of the Falcone family. Well, this is clearly an analog for Martin Shkreli. I always say his name there. Shkreli, yeah, Martin Shkreli, if you know him. He's the Pharma Bro dude.
Yeah.
So they basically now there is a Pharma Bro character in Gotham that they make a lot of fun of, and they make him out to be just as much of a bad person and jerk as he is in real life. That story was really amusing. Anyhow, so quite a bit of stuff in Batman Urban Legends issue number 19, but I think only like 2 of those are ongoing. A lot of them were just one-shot stories. We do not have any of the variants. We're out of the variants.
Next up, I have Amazing Spider-Man number 7. I gotta say, this was probably one of my favorite issues since the renumbering of Spider-Man back when they did the number 1. This one's really cool. So it actually begins with Vulture. I always really like Vulture. I feel like he's a pretty complex character, but he learned something. Like he needed any more instigation, where he is sworn that he is going to take the head off of Spider-Man. So we're setting up Vulture as going to be another. I don't want to say a new threat. Vulture is coming back to do something, but the kind of the big part of this story is Peter Parker is getting kind of a tour of Oscorp with Norman Osborn, who has after the Sin Eater storyline has had his sins erased. Even Peter Parker says whatever that means, and has turned over a new leaf and seems to be a good guy. We'll definitely have to see about that. But this tour of the facility is very interesting. One, because it looks like Kamala Khan is interning there. So I think that's a pretty interesting kind of status quo shakeup, is having her there. But also, a big thing people have been waiting for, Peter runs into Mary Jane. This is their first kind of real interaction since the issue number 1 craziness. And Mary Jane is there because of what's going on in X-Men. She works she's helping promote the pharmaceuticals that Krakoa is making, and she wanted to run it by Norman Osborn for him to check it out to make sure it really was safe. And it looks like she's about to head to the Hellfire Gala. So you can really tell when this takes place. But I don't want to say a lot is revealed in them talking, but you definitely get more of a sense of where they stand with each other. Who's more apologetic, what is hinted at that might have happened, and of course, if Mary Jane's there, also her new boyfriend or husband or whatever is there too. It's just as awkward as you think it's going to be. But then the big thing in this issue is, you can see it on the cover, Spider-Man's new suit. I will say it is not worn in this, but you do see it, and you're kind of left with a cliffhanger there. So, really good issue of Amazing Spider-Man number 7. We also have some variants for it. So we have this Smith variant, the Predator variant. We have this 1 in 10 design variant, where you could actually see him wearing it. And we have this really great 1 in 25 Gleason variant. We're selling for $25.
So speaking of Mary Jane, I read that it was announced it was either an interview or a panel this weekend, that there's going to be a Mary Jane and Black Cat ongoing series.
Yeah, and it's rumored that probably Jed McKay's going to be writing it, which I think is great because I thought that one shot was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I would very happy. I hope that series is real.
Yeah, a lot of times when you have two people who are forced to do something, it's more interesting if they don't really get along.
Yeah.
And that's definitely Mary Jane and Felicia Hardy.
What happened in the last little bit of Spider-Man where Black Cat kissed Peter, that could really throw some weirdness in it as well.
Yep. Okay, so I read Ms. Marvel and Wolverine. So this is another one of the things Marvel's doing where it's a series of linking one-shots. They were doing that with Moon Girl right now, where she's hunting down Devil Dinosaur. Well, this is the first one where it's Ms. Marvel in a series, I think, of 3 of them. So this one, she's doing something, and it's with Wolverine. Really, it's with Wolverine and the X-Men. Mm-hmm. Wolverine's just the one she knows from them, and he's in it more than the other ones. They previously had a team up a while back, which comes up in this. So something's going on in, I think it's in Central Park. There's this tree that links in with Krakoa, and these robotic bugs are attacking, and Ms. Marvel ends up kind of having to deal with it while having to help the X-Men out. It really is a team-up book. I mean, she really helps, but you see a lot of X-Men trying to deal with this problem. And it's weird because by the end it seems like the whole thing is resolved, but there's some extra pages at the end to let you know, no, it's not resolved at all. This is the beginning of something. And so the next 2 one-shots, it's going to be her teaming up with Moon Knight, and then after that, her teaming up with Venom. So this is definitely a bigger story, but don't look for an issue 2. They're all going to be number 1. So if you want them all, you're going to have to ask your comic shop, and hopefully they can keep up. Marvel makes it a little hard when it comes to that. But that is what's going on in Ms. Marvel and Wolverine, number 1. One shot of a 3-parter of one-shots. Here are the variants. Here is the Delgado variant. And then we have the Peach Momoko variant. And you see the characters she'll be teaming up, all 3 of them on there.
Yeah.
And then here is the Ramos Predator variant. I like this one a lot. I remember back when we showed this on Comics from the Future.
Yeah, that's my one that my theory was was supposed to be a Champions cover.
Right.
And
it was so
the Predator book got pushed so far that they were like, Miss Marvel's a member of the Champions at one point, considering that they aren't even really a team right now. Okay, so next up is A.X.E. Avengers X-Men Eternals number 2. So this is Marvel's big event book right now. And let me tell you, this is another dense one. I feel like Gillen writes very sci-fi heavy, I would say, just like his Eternals book. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of characters. I mean, so many characters involved in this book because you have those 3 teams. You do actually find out in this what role the Avengers are playing, which side they're going to go on, and kind of how can they most be effective in this scenario. We did find out in the previous one that Iron Man, Tony Stark, is trying to restart the Celestial that has been their home base for a long time in the Arctic. You'll have to see what happens with that. That is a very big thing that is pretty interesting. The part of this I thought was really interesting is this begins and kind of ends with a look at kind of just random people on Earth and how they perceive things like this. So Some people don't care that there's a big fight going on between the Eternals and the X-Men and the Avengers. They go along with their day-to-day lives. Like, one person's a delivery person, and it's like she doesn't really care. She only worries that she makes it to the place in time. And then there's a girl who she's just tweeting about it, and that's her only involvement is trying to be, get noticed and be an activist and stuff. And then other people, there's one guy that says he's old enough to remember when there wasn't the Marvels, and he knows they'll fight and it'll end and it'll be fine again and all of that. But then it does a very cool thing where it brings it back around at the end, and you see why you saw that at the beginning. And I think that was a very well written twist to this kind of story. So that is Avengers X-Men Eternals #2. We also have the variants for it. So we have the Fornes variant. I love this one with Namor. Of course, his blinds are in an old submarine getting attacked by a squid or something. And we have the Peach Momoko variant. And that is it.
All right, so I read Wonder Woman issue number 790. This is the end of the current arc they're on, which was pitting Wonder Woman and her team up against Dr. Cisco and sort of the classic Wonder Woman team he had put together. So last issue, everybody was sort of in dire straits. But this issue, let's just say it really wasn't quite as bad as you think. You have Professor Calculus, who had caught one of the members of Wonder Woman's team. You have Dr. Poison, who had two of the others. Let's just say they come up against some very tough resistance in this issue. But really what steals the show is Cisco against Wonder Woman. Like, they just have a one-to-one talk and battle. And Cisco just kind of insults Wonder Woman, tells her off, tells her why he doesn't like her, tells her why she's not as good as him, tries to beat her physically, tries to beat her mentally, and it is a treat to see how badly this goes for him. It really made me laugh seeing him try to defeat Wonder Woman and try to tell her why he doesn't like her, and she just, it's good. The comeuppance is good in this one. So, the last thing is you get to find out the final fate of the Wonder Woman villain from Mirror World, the one who's been working with Cisco, who looks like Wonder Woman, but she's got the crack across the face. Is there any part of Wonder Woman in her? Is she really all bad, and will she survive this arc? That's the other thing that gets resolved by the end of this. It's sort of a major part of the story. Lastly, there is a full page at the end of Wonder Woman changing her outfit to something a lot more classic. Something that more Diana Prince would be wearing. I think we'll be seeing that in the upcoming issues.
Interesting.
So we have this swimsuit variant. This is the Forbes swimsuit variant. I also wanted to mention, also out this week, I didn't get to read it, is Nubia, Queen of the Amazons #3. But here is the Derek Chu swimsuit variant for that.
Can you imagine how hard Amazonians can spike a volleyball? Like, they are putting a crater in the ground.
Yep.
Okay, next up for me, I have, let me make sure I grab the right one, Jurassic League. This is Jurassic League #4 of 6. You can see that awesome Green Lantern, actually he's Green Torch in this, about to do the suplex on...
Space suplex.
Space suplex against Atrocitus. This issue, I love that in the last couple issues we've gotten way more with the other Justice League characters. So in this one, you get more of him. You get more of Aquanix, the Aquaman character. And in the previous one, Aquanix had discovered a mysterious egg in a cave as he was chasing Black Mantisaurus. And in this, I mean, you could pretty much figure out the whole time that this is... They've been teasing Darkseid. Well, in this, you finally get to see, he is called Darkulocide. Super cool. This was a really, really fun issue where the whole Justice League are teaming up finally to face off against the big threat. So that is Jurassic League number 4, and we have this awesome Brett Booth variant. Brett Booth loves drawing dinosaurs, and this is perfect for him.
Okay, so I read The Deadliest Bouquet number 1, another new series from Image Comics. And so let's look at the cover. We have a mother and her 3 daughters in a cracked picture frame with blood on it. And then there are flowers around it. So I like to think a lot about covers. I like to think a lot about titles. And I see how all this fits in. So let me explain. The premise of this one is the mother, her name is Jasmine Hawthorne. She has been murdered. It starts out, she's been murdered, and her 3 daughters have to come together to first, it's just happened. So they all like sort of come together to see the police are there and everything. But they want to discover who has killed her. Now, who was Jasmine Hawthorne? She owned a flower shop, but that is clearly not her main mode in life. She was actually somebody who hunted Nazis who were on the run. And so, who is murder? She probably has a lot of enemies from having done this throughout her life. She raised her daughters, she trained them to do similar things, but this family has a lot of problems. They are very dysfunctional. So in this first issue, even though Jasmine Hawthorne's dead, you meet her 3 daughters who are all adults now, and they don't really hang out together or talk very much. This is a very dysfunctional family. They were raised that way, and you can tell they all splintered off to be totally different people, trying to reject different things they didn't like about their family. It seems like they have a lot of family secrets. There are hints of this that maybe even they help cover up the killing of their own father, possibly by their mother. As to why, I don't know. But, you're not supposed to yet. It's a lot of like little bits of flashback as you get to learn these characters, who these characters are. I think the writing and the characterization was very strong in this. If you're looking for sort of a good historical crime comic, I think that's what this is going to be. Good art. It's really just sort of meeting the characters and understanding how different they are and how can they possibly come together to figure out this crime. So that's what's going on in The Deadliest Bouquet number 1. We have some variants for it. We have the Altarisi variant. And we have the Kangas variant.
Okay, next up I have a big one, physically a big one. This is Gwen Stacy, giant-sized Gwen Stacy. So, as you can see, this is a $9.99 issue. This is basically a trade. It has, the title on the spine and everything. So this book has a long history. It was launched originally to be a miniseries back in early 2020. So you can imagine how that went. We had, I don't remember if it was like late 2019, early 2020, but I believe we got 3 issues. I think 3 came out. But then, of course, no more new releases for a long time. This one, more than a lot, this was on a lot of websites' lists of, like, still missing in action comics that, are they ever going to finish them? Well, they did. They actually completed the story and compiled it all in one book. So you get this whole big story. The art is done by Todd Knock. Really great art. And it is following Gwen Stacy kind of pre-Spider-Man. So Peter Parker's around, but this is it does a good job of avoiding Peter Parker and Spider-Man and everything. You're actually seeing her on kind of a it sounds simple to call it, but almost like a Nancy Drew type story, but a little bit more like she's looking into business practices of Norman Osborn and running up against masked criminals and that kind of thing, and showing that she is really smart, can take care of herself. She has a lot of her dad, the police chief, in her.
Captain Stacy.
Captain Stacy. She has a lot of him in her, and she's kind of always seeking the truth in things. all the while being in high school. So this was a really fun story. I'm glad that it got to be completed. I was reading it back when it started, and I had opened it up, and I was like, I remember some of this. Uh, but if you hadn't read it, it's really cool that they collect the entire thing here. This is essentially like a little trade. Like this is a little collected edition.
Yeah, I mean it's big enough they had to do the prestige binding.
Yeah, it even has like the Marvel logo at the top. Like if you put this on a shelf, it would fit right in with your trades and everything. So, highly recommended. I couldn't read the entire thing before we started, but I flipped through it because I kind of remembered what happened. But really recommended if you like those kind of stories. The non superhero characters in a superhero world. I think the best way to put it. We also have a really awesome variant cover for it. This is the Peach Momoko. Very classic, old school costumes for Gwen Stacy.
All right, so I read Black Panther #8. So you guys, we've been waiting for some Tozen to be in Black Panther, and they've finally been having them a little bit. There's a bit more of them in this one too. Still not a ton because ultimately the book is about T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
So in this issue, T'Challa, Shuri, Storm, Tozen, and their other companions, they have to find a way back into the capital to try to stop the insurrection that has sort of taken over Wakanda. And so it all comes to a head because this is the final issue of the arc. And I really can't reveal much other than it looks like by the end of this that Wakanda will no longer have a king and no longer have a secret police. I'll also say you get to see what Tozen thinks of T'Challa. It's already been sort of revealed Tozen doesn't like him. He really doesn't like him.
Mm.
And Tozen and Shuri really start butting heads in this issue over that as well. So that's what's going on in Black Panther #8, the end of that arc. And we've got this variant. This is the Paquette variant.
And we actually have some Star Wars books this week. Here is Han Solo and Chewbacca #5. This is a really cool issue where a lot is revealed. It was teased in the beginning that is this person that claims to be Han's father actually his father? You'll find out in this one. Also, there's a lot of characters from the Bounty Hunter series, which also came out this week, that appear in this. And a storyline, I don't want to reveal it because it's the final page, but a story point that a lot of fans really like is teased coming up. So that is Han Solo and Chewbacca. I knew I had to sneeze. We have the variant cover for it. This is the Choose Your Destiny with Keeve Trennis from High Republic. And we have the... this is a 1 in 25 Lopez variant with our new kind of sheriff character, who actually takes off his helmet in this. Also this week we have Bounty Hunters. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunters #26. It's still a kind of Crimson Reign, not tie-in because Crimson Reign is over, but still kind of working off of some of the storylines in there as well. And we have some variants for that. We have, this is the Abertov variant, the Dengar. And then this one I think is really big because this is our first comic appearance on a cover of Reva from Obi-Wan with her lightsaber there. So if you collect first appearances, even cover appearances, this is her first one as well.
All right, so I read Avengers #59. Of course, this has been Avengers going throughout time, trying to preserve different Avenger characters or people who would be related to them or who held their powers before them through history, because Mephisto is going through time, trying to mess with it all. So what do we have on the cover here? We've got Thor looking sort of Western, looking like he's about to be in a gun battle. I guess a hammer versus other weapons, sort of high noon battle with somebody in red. So, very Mephisto looking. Something does happen in this like that. Like, really what the scene is it's Thor and Iron Man in a high noon battle against a bunch of villains. So you'll have to see how that turns out. Um, but past that, this has the first full appearance of Reno Phoenix and the Star Brand Kid.
Perfect.
Yeah, so which they had a cameo a bunch of issues back, and so now they get their full day in the sun, and the Avengers end up in this time period having to help them. So you get two Phoenixes, two Star Brands at the same time. All that gets addressed. It's another fast, fun issue. If you've been enjoying all the previous Avengers Through Time issues, you're gonna like this one as well. So that's what's going on in this issue. And then we have the Bagley variant for Avengers number 59. Lots of spider characters. Lots of Spideys.
And I have, for my last one, this is Punisher issue number 5. This has been a very interesting story of Punisher leading kind of the enforcement part of the Hand. And you can see on this cover him carrying his wife into the woods. So after he learned about... he knew the Hand were bad, but even Punisher has a very loose sense of morality and justice. He learned that basically some of the Hand had to watch their family get killed, which is very dark, and Punisher is not really okay with that. He's had some trepidations previously with him, and he is going to try and escape the Hand's compound with his wife, his wife who is very messed up and is starting to recall possibly her death. So he attempts to escape, but of course it's not that easy. It looks like there's going to be a big face-off with Ares in the next one, which has been the antagonist of this that they haven't met face-to-face with, but it looks like there's going to be a big fight with Ares. And will Punisher be able to reconcile the kind of things he's having to do being member of the Hand and learning that there's even more behind this, maybe some more supernatural stuff going on than what he thought. So, very cool issue of Punisher, and I don't have a variant for it.
All right, so I read the final issue of Venom Lethal Protector, which is coming out this Wednesday, issue number 5. So in this issue, Eddie Brock Venom goes up against Taskmaster and a team that Taskmaster has put together of powered villains that he has trained to, he's been training these villains. He's like, hey guys, it's your chance. Go beat down this new character, because nobody really knows Venom too well back in these days. It's really cool to see Eddie Brock Venom get to fight and not have to hold back at all. I mean, these are villains trying to kill him, so he tries to kill them back, and you get to see how he fights different people with different powers. There are people with cold powers, electricity powers. Also, by the end of this issue, he learns who has sent all these people after him and why. This is the final issue, so all that gets resolved. It is not a spoiler to say that Venom survives this.
It's set in the past. Yeah.
Correct, it's set in the past. What I will say is it is cool to see how Eddie and the symbiote go through this whole thing, and by the end you will see how it really strengthens their bond. As strong as their bond is, it's great to have these stories where it's like, oh wow, they went through all this together. Mm-hmm. I see why they work so well as a team. So a great last issue of Venom Lethal Protector number 5. Then we have the John Boy Myers variant for it.
He does a great Venom. Every time one of those comes up, it looks so good.
It looks great. And lastly, I was going to say, getting back to the Ghost Rider, I don't know. I was having a brain fart earlier. It is definitely Robbie Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I said Robbie Reyes. Jamie Reyes is Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
My brain was creating a new
A new
crossover amalgam
character.
character or something.
The Ghost Beetle.
I
He
have
rides
not
a
had
flaming
enough.
motorcycle.
I have not had enough caffeine. You know, Megan switched this to matcha off of coffee, and I don't know. I think I need some more caffeine or something. But that is our show for today. So thank you for watching. We hope we have done our job in telling you what all these new comics coming out this week are about, letting you know which ones you might want, going further into them than if you just read a little bit about them online. So if we've done that, we've done our job. And if you watch us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We are creeping up towards 1,800 subscribers. So be part of that.
Yeah.
We would appreciate it. And if you miss Megan, our co-host on Comics from the Future, she will be on Whatnot tonight at 7 o'clock selling a variety of comics on her show. It's called Something New, Something Old. Some of the stuff she does is some of the things we're talking about. And then she also does stuff from like the Silver Age and stuff. It's cool. She's collecting probably some of it as we speak. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back Friday with Comics from the Future. Have a good rest of your week, and we hope you enjoy whatever comics you decide to get.
We need a sign off like comics forever or something.
Comics ahoy! Goodbye.
Bye.